And we're on to exercise 4 of balancing the bank account. So by now, I think we should have a fairly good idea of what to do. So let's have a look. On the debit side, we have an amount of 754,145, credit side 652,484. The debit side is definitely the bigger one, so that's going to be the total of both sides. So what I'm going to type in there is 754,145. It will just be the bigger of the two amounts. Then on the credit side, I need to have exactly the same total because what we're trying to do is balance the bank account. And I'm going to go and put my double lines over there. And yeah, it's quite important just to make it fairly obvious that this is a total, that we've totaled it off. Just get that nice and precise over there and there. Okay, so now what I need to do is go and say, okay, which was the smaller of the two sides? It was definitely that amount on the credit side. So I need to go and fill in my balance carried down on this side. So that's the balancing figure. So I'm just going to take my calculator, which I've got in my hand as I'm speaking to you, and I'm going to take the 754,145. So that's going to be the total. Just subtract what's there already, the 652,484. And the answer I get is 101,661. Okay, so that is going to be our balance carried down, our balancing figure there. So then I would need to go to the debit side because for this credit I've just made, I need a matching debit. And I will go and make an entry on September the 1st, the first day of the next month. And I'm just going to go and write balance, write brought down. And then over here, I'm going to go and put the 101,661 over there. So it's very important that that balance carry down amount that I put in over there, just highlighted for the moment, that's the amount I need to add on to what's on the smaller side, to that 652,484, to get the total. And the total I will always get from the amount that's on the bigger side, 754,145. That yellow highlighted amount over there, I would then need to put the same amount on the opposite side. So if my balance carried down was on the credit side, as it is there, my balance brought down is going to be on the debit side. Balance carried down is the end of the month. Balance brought down is the beginning of the next month. So September the 1st in this particular case. Okay, I hope that one makes some sort of sense. I'm just going to get rid of my highlighting and then move on to exercise 5. So if we look at this, now we can see there's 145,784 on the debit side, 152,478 on the credit side. That's the bigger of the two amounts. So that is going to have to be our total, 152,478. And that's going to be over here, 152,478. Okay, so what I need to do now is go and actually put in my balancing figure. So I nearly forgot my double lines. So let's just go over here and put them in. Really important. When you're doing it in your printed workbook, just make sure you do it with a ruler, kind of nice and darkly, so it sort of stands out. Is darkly a word? Nice and dark, so that it actually stands out. Let's just go and get that one. Doesn't want to go. That one in. There it is. Okay. So what I need to do now is go and put in my balancing figure. So I'm going to have to put it on the debit side because I've only got 145,784 and it needs to add up to 152,478. So I'm going to take on my calculator 152,478. I'm going to subtract 145,784. The answer I get is 6,694. So that is going to be my balance carried down. Date for that is the end of the month, and our last entry on the debit side was July the 31st, end of the month anyway, so I don't need to write it again. So then on the opposite side, I will go and make an entry because I've made an entry, the balance carried on the debit side. So I go to the opposite side, which is the credit side. Next month is August. If this was July, on the 1st, I'm going to put in balance carried down, C/D for carried down. And then the amount that I put over there is going to be 6,694. So it's going to be exactly the same as the balance carried. Sorry, that's balance brought down. Oops, actually must concentrate a bit harder. Hey, so that balance carried down is 6,694 on the debit side. So then I'm going to put balance brought down of 6694 on the credit side. Okay, so that means we owe the bank 6,694 Rand. We have a bank overdraft because we paid out 152,478. That was more than we received, 145,784. So we paid out more than we received, so therefore we owe the bank, credit balance, bank overdraft. Okay, so I'm now going to go to exercise 6, which is the last of these exercises. Let's have a look. Debit side 105,478, credit side 65,415. The debit side is the bigger amount, so that is actually the total that I need to put in on both sides. Okay, so what I'm going to do over here is put in my total 105,478, and I will need to have exactly the same total over here, 105,478. Okay, so let's go and get my bold lines in to show that it's a total. Top and the bottom, on the top, the debit side, and the bottom. Okay, there we have it. Okay, so the debit side already is 105,478. The credit side needs something added in over there. So I will take my calculator, 105,478. I'm going to subtract 65,415. And the answer I get is 40063. Okay, so that is going to be my balance carried down. So for that balance carried down on the credit side, I need to go and put my balance brought down on the opposite side, which is the debit side now, and that will be 40063. So if there's a debit balance, that arose because we received more than we paid out, so we actually have money in the bank. And how much money? We have 40,063 Rand. Okay, the one thing that is important when you go and write the date in, the last date was December the 31st in 2020. So the next month is January, but we would also be in the next year. So I'm going to have to go 2021, January. So this is an example when I have to write the year again because it's a new year. Okay, so the previous ones, if we go and look over here, I didn't have to go and write the year again because we were still in the same year. Although it's fine if you do write the year every time. Okay, so debit balance, we have money in the bank, and I have to write the year in as well because it was December. January is not 2020 anymore, it's now 2021. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Then there were a couple of things just at the bottom of the page. What does it mean if the bank account has a debit balance brought down? Is the bank account favorable or unfavorable? Well, I've just been talking about that. A good example is exercise 6, the one we've just done. You've got a debit balance brought down. Your balance brought down is on the debit side. That was a case where we received more money than we actually paid out during that month. So we have money in the bank. So we would say that is definitely favorable. Okay, I'm going to battle to circle this. So what I'm going to do is just go and put it in bold and underline it to make it fairly obvious, and I can highlight it just to make it very clear. Okay, so it's a favorable balance brought down if it's debit. Now, let's go and look at the next question here. What happens if you have a credit balance brought down? That was like exercise 5 and exercise 3. You had credit balances brought down in both cases. Now, if it's a credit balance brought down, you received 145,784 in this case, and you paid 152,478. So you paid out more than you received. That means you owe money to the bank. It's a bank overdraft. So credit balance brought down, that would very definitely be unfavorable. Okay, so unfavorable, okay, because you wouldn't want to owe money to the bank. So it's favorable if it's on the debit side, because that means you have money in the bank. But if you have a credit balance brought down, it is very definitely unfavorable because it means you owe the bank money. And it's mentioned just on the right-hand side over here that a favorable bank balance is a good thing for the business. As I said a moment ago, it means you have money in the bank. An unfavorable bank balance is definitely not a good thing. It means that the business is in debt with the bank. You owe money to the bank. You have an overdraft. And sometimes you would do that, especially if you want to expand your business or it's the early days of your business. That's why your bank manager might agree to give you an overdraft, because you're showing that you're going to be putting money into the business, buying maybe new equipment, whatever, and the bank will actually help you with that. But you do have to pay the bank that money back, and you would have to pay it back with interest. So you would try and avoid that, but sometimes it is necessary because it's a way to grow or expand your business. Okay, that's where I'm going to leave this particular video, and hopefully it makes sense, and you will certainly get lots of practice at balancing bank accounts in future.